Hello, welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and thanks for watching. I'm State Treasurer Rob McCord, and I'm filling in for Terry Madonna. This week, we'll be talking with two leaders. The first is an expert on Act 47, the state's designation for financially distressed municipalities like our own Harrisburg. And then we'll be speaking with a leader from Central Pennsylvania who's working to create entrepreneurial opportunities for women and minorities. We'll be back in a moment with this week's program.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host.
Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. I'm State Treasurer Rob McCord, filling in for Terry Madonna. In December, Harrisburg became the 20th municipality in Pennsylvania to be declared financially distressed under Pennsylvania's Municipalities Financial Recovery Act, or Act 47. Since then, there's been a great deal of news coverage and conversation about what comes next for our capital city. Joining me today is Joe Boyle from the Pennsylvania Economy League, an organization that has extensive expertise with financially distressed communities, including, of course, Harrisburg. Joe's an expert on municipal government matters. Joe, tell us a little bit about the Pennsylvania Economy League and your role with Harrisburg and Act 47.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer, for inviting us today. The Pennsylvania Economy League is a regionally based statewide organization that is a nonpartisan research company devoted to the public sector and organized to make Pennsylvania a better place to live, work, and do business. We've been involved with Act 47 and distressed municipalities now since right after the passage of the Act in 1987. 1987. The PEL serves as the coordinator under Act 47 for the city of Scranton, the borough of West Hazelton, and the city of Nanticoke. We also served as part of the coordinator team for the city of Harrisburg that developed the recovery plan that was voted down by council last week. The part of that team included Stevens and Lee, O'Donnell Associates, and the Novak Consulting Group, which was actually the coordinator, the head of the team. Act 47, as you indicated in your introduction, is the General Assembly's response to the distressed condition of many of the older municipalities in the state, particularly the older cities and boroughs.
And tell us a little bit about how Act 47 is supposed to work. It sort of relates to the concept of bankruptcy, doesn't it?
I think the real purpose of the Act is to prevent that step. The Act is designed to provide the tools to the local municipality to be able to restructure itself, if you will, to regain the fiscal stability and the organizational strength to recover from fiscal distress that got it into this situation to begin with. The Act is not a state takeover, as some would envision, nor does the coordinator really control or run the municipality. The coordinator is designed and works to implement the recovery plan. The recovery plan for a particular municipality is developed in concert with that municipality, with the elected officials, with the administrators, with the citizens of that municipality, and it's designed to reflect the conditions that drove, if you will, that municipality into fiscal distress.
What's sort of the primary driver of what's going on in our capital city? What is driving it so hard into financial distress, and it joins many other third-class cities in that regard?
Correct.
Official designation
right.
of third class. Yeah.
Correct. I think Harrisburg, as the capital, is of course unique because it is the capital, and it has an overhanging debt situation that makes its situation a little different than the other municipalities, particularly the third-class cities who have been in Act 47. But Harrisburg, like those other third-class cities and some of the other boroughs that are in Act 47, still has a problem with a structural deficit in its operations. It doesn't bring in enough revenue to fund the level of services that it wants to provide to its citizens. When you talk about public health, safety, and welfare, most of the third-class cities cannot collect enough revenue under current statutory limitations to truly fund what they want to do.
And I know we're about to end this segment. I know the City Council voted down the first proposal, and the mayor is coming back by a 4-3 vote. Then the mayor has come back with a new proposal. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about how the two proposals differ and what you see in store for Harrisburg. We'll be back in just a moment after these messages. Thank you.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School, bringing educational innovation and freedom to the children of Pennsylvania. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by ReconnectPA.org, supporting a comprehensive transportation funding solution, and by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. I'm State Treasurer Rob McCord, sitting in this week for Terry Madonna, and I'm honored to be joined by the Pennsylvania Economy League's Joe Boyle. We're drilling into this question surrounding Act 47 and how they relate to the capital city of Harrisburg. They had that controversial vote, just barely voting down the first proposal. Now the mayor's going to submit another proposal to sort of recover from financial distress. Bring us up to date. What are the key issues here?
The mayor submitted her plan on Tuesday, August 2nd, and the mayor's plan is a little bit different from the original recovery plan. The overriding issues here are, as we discussed a little bit, are the structural deficit versus the debt situation that exists with Harrisburg. Harrisburg's incinerator has developed a debt burden for the city that approaches, when you consider the principal amount of bonds outstanding on the resource recovery facility and the obligations incurred by Dauphin County and by Assured Guarantee, which is the insurer of the bonds on the resource recovery facility, that amounts to over $300 million. The issue really is, I think, how does Harrisburg unburden itself of that debt? The city guaranteed the bonds.
And it's sort of my understanding that one of the things that one does in an Act 47 process is discuss the selling of assets, but that some of the other issues at play are whether there are revenues to be raised from things like a sales tax, a commuter tax, a property tax. But an option that also is out there is to say, we have to declare bankruptcy, which happened in northeastern Pennsylvania at one point with one bankruptcy, and yet the fiscal code was recently revised to say nobody's allowed to declare bankruptcy for a year, which as a former private equity type, and I know you're a former investment banker, I'm sort of watching that saying that it seems like they changed the rules in the middle of the process when it came to Harrisburg specifically. I don't know if you have any comments on that specific issue, or where do you think this is going to go from here?
I think it will go from here. The process between the mayor and city council will work itself through. The issue is what to do about that overhang of debt on the city. And I think both the recovery plan is prepared by the recovery plan coordinator, and the mayor's submitted recovery plan attempts to deal with that issue. As you indicated, the sale of the asset, the sale of the resource recovery facility, there's a potential offer on the that has been discussed. The issue really becomes, though, if that asset is sold, then the debt, the bonds supporting that asset, have to be called. They have to be paid off. That payoff would be more than the price paid for the resource recovery facility. So you would have to find additional dollars.
And just to help people understand this, I mean, if you're talking about a $120 million sale of a trash to steam plant and $300 million worth of debt, you've got a gap. Some of the things under discussion are things like selling the parking lots. You then lose the revenue stream from those parking lots for decades to come. And the question is how to balance the budget in the long run. Some of the things that I hear as the state treasurer is that you seem to have Main Street contributing, but not Wall Street. That the state might kick in a little more to cover firefighting, and a little bit like they were doing, say, pre-2008. You might see a little bit more from gaming proceeds. I sit on the gaming board. I was pleased to see that. But the bond insurer hasn't really come bellied up to the table and said, we also will accept a slightly lower payment or less in subordinated debt. And that's some of the buzz that you hear in and around Harrisburg, that they haven't really been brought to the table. And frankly, the threat of bankruptcy is what usually brings financial players to the table, because they say, well, we would like to get paid something. Let's be reasonable. Once that threat of bankruptcy is taken off the table, a lot of us business types were kind of looking at the deal going, well, you just disarmed one side of the negotiation. So I'm a little curious what you, as an expert, see evolving here.
I think the issue of taking bankruptcy off the table for the time being might not be all that bad or onerous for the municipality. And when you look at Chapter 9, which is the Code for Municipal Bankruptcy, it's a little bit different than Chapter 11. So one has to be careful. Plus, we don't have any experience in Pennsylvania with large-scale municipal bankruptcy. I think, secondly, and more important, is that the situation in Harrisburg with the potential sale of the resource recovery facility and the potential sale or lease of the city assets, such as the parking authority, I think there's potential for enough revenue to be generated where the city can come out of this relatively whole.
That's really important, because it's important for all of us who care about central Pennsylvania, about our capital city, about our bond rating. On that upbeat note, we will sign off with Joe Boyle, and we will be back after these messages with our next expert, in particular talking about entrepreneurial opportunities for women and minorities, even in this challenging environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the State System of Higher Education. 14 state-owned universities. The state system is the largest provider of higher education in Pennsylvania. And by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. I'm State Treasurer Rob McCord, filling in for Terry Madonna. The economic security of Pennsylvanians is one of my core concerns as state treasurer. Women, in particular, face unique challenges that can affect their ability to remain above the poverty line throughout their entire lives. For instance, women earn roughly 20% less than men among full-time workers with comparable education doing comparable work. And women are 3 times more likely than men to fall into poverty after the age of 60. The Great Recession certainly created a host of hardships for both men and women, but while men were disproportionately affected by the initial economic downturn, women have found it much more difficult to get back on their feet during this very modest recovery. According to one important report, since the recession ended, men have actually added 768,000 jobs, while women have lost an additional 218,000 jobs. Joining us today to talk about the economic challenges facing women and possible entrepreneurial opportunities for women is Joan Brodhead, Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of the Community First Fund. Welcome, Joan. Tell us about Community First.
Thank you very much for having us here. Community First Fund is an economic development organization. We are throughout the central Pennsylvania region. We are based in Lancaster with 4 offices. We're in Harrisburg, Reading, York, and Lancaster, and we serve the surrounding counties. We primarily focus on entrepreneurship. We want to see the small cities come back. We want to see the neighborhoods have businesses and services that they need, and all of the boroughs and small towns also need economic development. We work very strongly with women who are looking to open a business or expand a business they have. We work with with all types of businesses. We don't have any kind of focus, specific focus, although we do help women with business planning, especially around their finances within that business plan, making sure they have good marketing strategies and really understand their business strategies.
And you also head up, you're director of the Women's Business Center
That's
within
correct.
Community First. What is the Women's Business Center, and for people who are interested in getting services from the Women's Business Center, how do they do that?
Well, we focus most of our training opportunities there, so women can, and men as well, can come in and get business plan advice. We also help them understand how to become certified to do state and federal contracting, and we also have topical series on information that every business owner might need, such as a very important thing these days, social network, social media, and how do they get into that. Realm in their business, and what aspects, pros and cons.
Yeah.
We really like to give people information, make them more knowledgeable, make them understand what they're going to face. You know, having a good plan and having a direction will really help. We actually have statistics that show that you're 70% better success rate if you have done a strong business plan and gotten some feedback from a professional advisor.
Yeah, no, it's terrific the work you do, and I think a lot of us, you know, who are middle-aged understand what it is to be digitally homeless, to be mad mups, middle-aged, downwardly mobile urban professionals. We see people working with social media and other online tools, and sometimes you need a little real in-person mentoring to get comfortable with those tools and make sure that you avail yourself of those kinds of resources. Sort of backing up and asking the big picture, how are you seeing the recession and this very modest, slow recovery affecting the careers of women?
Well, as you had mentioned earlier, women are not getting jobs back as quickly as they had, as the men are. Many of them lost jobs during that recession, and they still are underpaid compared to the
and are continuing to lose jobs.
And continuing
that's right.
to lose jobs.
Yeah.
So we see that this is often an opportunity for individuals who now say, it's time for me to go out on my own. We encourage individuals to go into entrepreneurship because it can be a way to build your wealth. If your business is successful, you can pass it on to your family, you can sell it down the road, and it is a different way in which to build some wealth. So we really see that it has dual effect. It has job creation, it
and
helps
wealth creation.
communities, and wealth creation.
Helps, and you know, women have continued to lose jobs net during the recovery, which is a sad state of affairs in part from the statistics we're reading because of the cuts in state employment and the cuts in a lot of education systems where women were working disproportionately. So the work you do to help women create jobs they can own in the future could be particularly valuable. We'll be back in one moment after these messages, and we'll talk with Joan a little bit more about key advice to women who seek to become entrepreneurs.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Highmark Blue Shield, changing the way health plans work for business with a variety of plan options for employers and more choices for employees. Information is available at highmark.com. Have a greater hand in your company's health. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. Again, I'm Pennsylvania State Treasurer Rob McCord, and it's my privilege to be sitting in for Terry Madonna, whom I believe will be back next week. We're very lucky to be talking today about entrepreneurial opportunities for women. For viewers who want to check out what's going on at the McCord Treasury and the Treasury Department, please check on to patreasury.org and click on to the Women in Money tab under Financial Education. A lot of people like using our website. We have Retire PA. We have a Women in Money tab. Again, go to patreasury.org. Now, we're very fortunate to have a great statewide leader in Joan Brodhead joining us, talking about some of the entrepreneurial opportunities for women and her leadership role at Community First. Let me yield to Joan and just ask the basic question: what are some of the most common challenges facing women who want to own their own jobs and be entrepreneurs in the future?
Well, I think women are always looking for capital to open their business. I think some of the reasons of not having as high an earning level throughout their career, in part, contributes to that lack of capital. So we have a focus of that over the last 18 years. We've made more than $35 million in loans, and we have made most of those to small business owners, and more than a third of those have gone to women-owned businesses. So our focus is that. We really believe they not only need the capital, it needs to be structured in a way that's valuable to them in their startup or as they're expanding, and they really need to understand the impact of that loan and the consequences of paying that back and building their strength in their business as they do that.
Yes, I mean the old law in finance of watch out what you ask for. When somebody can take on debt, they say, great, I have financing, and bit by bit that can become a burden over time. And certainly you've played this invaluable role in helping people understand the financial challenges they may face and getting appropriate kinds of capital. What are some of the tools and resources that are available to women who are starting to explore entrepreneurial opportunities?
Well, we have our website, which has been shown on the screen, and I think if they go to that, there's a directory that we have put together that they can understand a lot of different things. People need to know their zoning, their codes, legally what they have to do to get open. We also work with other resource organizations throughout the central Pennsylvania that are partly funded through the Small Business Administration through government funding. Those are the Small Business Development Centers, the SCORE representatives, and some other, a lot of the community colleges are also supporting entrepreneurial work now.
Do you have a couple of sort of success stories of women-run startups that have made it?
Yeah, we're working with a woman named Patricia Briner. Her business is Rena Technology, and she is a technology company. She can provide a technology assessment software. She can create a disaster recovery program for you, and she also has staff that she and contracts with and gets those individuals into your businesses. As you know, a lot of businesses can't afford a full-time IT person or don't know exactly what they need, and she's someone that we worked with. We helped her with a loan that helped her get more state and federal contracting, and she's working in the central Pennsylvania area.
Oh, that's great. And, you know, one firm's downsizing can create an entrepreneur's opportunity when people say we can't afford a full-time person. And one of the things that a lot of us are taking a look at is trying to figure out how to get more people studying entrepreneurship over the long haul and taking advantage of opportunities. Sometimes flirting with it but not buying initially is helpful, just to have walked around it. So we hope people will stay in steady touch with you. I am very mindful of the time here, very grateful to the viewers who watch Pennsylvania Newsmakers. We hope that you'll stay in touch with Community First and Joan Brodhead and with the Pennsylvania Treasury via patreasury.org. I'm Rob McCord, your state treasurer. Terry Madonna will be back next week. Thank you.